What's up, Giants fans? Welcome to another episode of Giants Talk. I'm Cole Kuiper here with Giants insider Alex Pavlovic. Alex is on the ground in Orlando for the winter meetings, bringing us all the updates in the busiest week of the offseason. And while he was there, he sat down for interviews with Giants GM Zack Minasian and Giants' newest Hall of Famer, Jeff Kent. So stay tuned. Towards the end of this episode, we will be dropping interviews with both of them. Before we get started, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini's Sleep World. Rest easy with huge savings during the year-end clearance sale at Mancini's Sleep World with Beauty Rest mattresses from $299. Don't sleep on this. Shop sleepworld.com. All right, Alex, let's start. You're somewhere fun. You're somewhere interesting. Let's just start with how is it? How are the winter meetings? I mean, you go to these all the time. Sometimes your traveling meeting trips are in Vegas. Sometimes they're in San Diego. How is the Orlando winter meetings?
You mentioned busy. It is not. It's like the quietest first 2 days of a winter meetings I can remember.
No.
And not just for us, but like there's been nothing.
Yeah, league-wide, no moves. I just figured that meant you were like down there getting the scoop of all the stuff that's about to happen.
No, I'm walking back and forth. I'm seeing there's a lazy river right outside the window, seeing that and knowing that I can't hop in because you can't leave your phone this time of year. There's a golf course right outside as well, completely empty. I think like half of the people probably here are staring at that, just going like, you could walk onto the first tee right now, but you can't because we can't. So we're waiting for stuff. It's fine. I love the winter meetings. The Jeff Kent stuff has been cool. The interview, I hope people enjoy it. I've never interviewed Jeff before. Like, it's a completely different side of Jeff Kent than what I saw growing up. What we talked about the other day with Rich Aurelia, if people haven't listened to that, it's just a different side of Jeff that we've seen here. But other than that, we're kind of waiting. We're eating like $14 bagels, and they got us by the what here, because it's a like Disney property kind of. So
oh yeah, you can't leave because you're working. You can't go get like a Cubano or something. You just have to eat hotel food and stand by your phone and not do anything.
Basic Cubano though, that sounds like I feel like there's a delivery coming today.
There we go.
That's where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest news we have in the Giants world, aside from the Jeff Kent stuff that we already covered a little bit, and I'm sure we'll discuss much more later on, is Marco Luciano, no longer a San Francisco Giant.
Yeah, he was going to lead our Monday pod, I think, until Jeff Kent got into the Hall of Fame, and we changed that up and had that whole discussion. It's like just a weird ending to a guy who was a top 100 prospect for 5 years, was got up to like the teens. I've tweeted this the other day. I watched this guy take batting practice when he was like, I don't know, 17, 18, whatever he was. It's impossible to imagine they would be here today in this situation. Like, even if it didn't work out for the Giants, you would have thought at some point he'd be thrown into a mega deal and was asked about. And they were, there's a couple big mistakes here with him. And I think the one that we've talked about a lot over the years and talking to some Giants people here, they've really kind of everyone has come around to this, just like, yeah, we screwed up with the shortstop thing. Like he wasn't a shortstop. We waited way too long. It's a lesson moving forward, I think, that they will take into the development of other young infielders, which they have many of. That's something they've talked about internally, and there was some stubbornness there. And just, it's clear to us a couple of years ago when we were watching him in these games. Remember that road trip? Like, was it Pittsburgh, New York? Mm-hmm. We're like, oh, this just is not. We thought this wasn't going to work, and this just is not.
Yeah, and I feel like every time we checked in on him when he was in AAA, just stuff wasn't getting better. No news. They're hoping it figures itself out. Do you think he changes scenery and something clicks here? I mean, he's joining Joey Bart, right, in Pittsburgh. Yeah. So this could be like just another all he needed was to no longer be in foggy San Francisco.
I hope for his sake. I mean, we're pro player. He's 24 years old. He's tremendous power. Something happened along the way to his swing where he just started dropping everything into right field instead of being that guy who just has pull power. Mm-hmm. The other thing I'll say here, just going back to the mistakes, they were very stubborn in trade talks and held this guy for years. And like, I've heard some names that were floated. Some big time like starting pitchers a couple years ago that they were asked about, that they were asked about Marco during these conversations, like the kind of guys that we've talked about in free agency, where you go like, it'd be great if that guy was a Giant. And they had a chance to throw Marco into some of these trades, and it's like kind of worst case scenario here. They never developed him, and some goes on him as well. I mean, he didn't have a great season last year in AAA. The bat didn't get to where you could even comfortably be like, well, he's not a great left fielder, but let's do it anyway. And I think the other thing that we maybe haven't wrapped our heads around is that lost year in 2020 for guys like Luciano and Matos, just losing a full year of real development time there. Obviously, it impacted Joey Bart quite a bit. So there's a lot that goes into it, but ultimately really disappointing to just have it be a waiver claim at the end of this. And the possibility, we'll see where this goes with Marco, but there is the possibility of this one coming back to really sting and being like, well, even if you had done this a year ago, like you could have gotten more. Throwing him into something, but there's just nothing really out there at this time of year, and they wanted the roster spot.
I think the not getting anything in return from him is the part that stings the most here, and especially for a team that has struggled fairly consistently since that 2021 season, and to the point that executives and managers' jobs have been on the line. It is very surprising that he didn't get thrown into something. I mean, since the 2021 year, or maybe even including, what do you think his like most valuable was? This is from a mailbag question I got last night. Where could they have dealt him for the most?
I'll throw one name out that I've heard over time, because sometimes I see people go like, Alex talks in code on the stuff that we want, and we can't say everything. But I've heard his name was involved in Corbin Burns trade talks a while back. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what year that was, but just that's the type of thing we're talking about here. Like when they were going to, and it's not obviously like a 1-for-1, but like he had tremendous value at some point. And you even go back like 2 years ago. It's 22 years old, top prospect. Like the power is tantalizing to everybody. So I don't know what ultimately a trade would have looked like, or how many guys end up in a trade, how Marco and 3 other guys for some ace or anything like that. I just think that's the kind of thing we were talking about, where when he was 21 or 22, and I get it's hard to part with, but if they had decided then, like internally made the evaluation, he's not going to be a shortstop, and we feel like we need to move on from this, like would have been part of a big time trade.
Well, as we discuss a prospect not panning out and the Giants holding on for him too long, Alex, do we want to touch on the Buster Posey discussing the prospect of trading Bryce Eldridge topic out there? I read your article on it already, but I figure for the non-readers, if we'd like to go over it a little bit here in audio form.
We want at least clickers. Give us the...
Yeah. You know what? We refuse to discuss it. Go read the article.
Well, it's funny because I think one of the lessons from Marco is don't be that stubborn, but also that was years and years of it. And this is like, you're just starting that process with Bryce. I would not trade him. We've been waiting a decade for a homegrown superstar in San Francisco. He checks every box of what you would want as a young Giants prospect. Just asking around, I mean, this is not breaking news. This is kind of obvious, but it's just like somebody told me, like, yeah, if the Pirates call and they're like, hey, Paul Skeens is out there, then yeah, you have that, you start having that discussion. The Red Sox asked about him for Devers right away, and Buster's like, no. So I think what Buster said yesterday was what you would expect, and said basically everybody's on the table. But we really like Bryce. We think he's a big part of the future. They think it's very doable with first base DH with him and Devers. I think one thing we've heard Zach say recently is like, you need more offense at Oracle Park. The Giants need more offense. So this guy's a part of that. And I do just want to read something from our old friend Scott Harris, who was asked about Scooble. And I thought this quote was pretty instructive, and it's how everybody should view things. He said, I've been pretty clear since I've been here. I don't believe in untouchables at any level. And he went on to say, I think I can't do my job without listening. I can't do my job without exploring anything that may or may not have legs. Some are maybe very likely moves, and some are going to be extremely unlikely. but you can't actually fully vet those opportunities unless you are willing to listen. So that's how we're doing it. And that's him talking about Scooble specifically. But that I think applies in this case as well. Like it would, if somebody calls and says, Buster, what would it take to get Logan Webb? Like, you have to at least listen on all of this. And that's one of the frustrating things about this time of year for me is you see things like Giants might listen on Bryce Harper or on Bryce Eldridge. It's like, yeah, of course they will. Like, you have to. So I think everyone, just Giants Talk listeners, keep that in mind. They will listen on everybody. Almost every team feels this way about almost every player. I don't think he'll be traded, but there is certainly like probably an internal list somewhere of like, this is again, like just my opinion. There's probably a list of like Scooble and Skeens and Hunter Green and guys like this, where you go like, okay, you'd have to do it.
Yeah. And it's almost like it would be an even weirder, bigger story if they came out and said there was absolutely nobody we will trade for Bryce Eldridge.
Yeah. And you kind of look around the league and go like, well, what about that guy?
What about Shohei Ohtani?
Yeah, what if you get the call, So Ohtani decides he screwed up and
exactly
San Francisco. So yeah, I mean that's how these things go. But I don't expect him. To be dealt. Well, and I really think like it's very doable with the two of those guys. And I mean, let's just see how spring training goes and let's see what it looks like. The dream is to have those two guys in the middle of the order hitting 75 combined homers, whatever it is. Like, let's see how it looks.
Yeah. Speaking of moves amidst this slow winter meetings you're in the middle of, I have seen the Giants connected to quite a few players. This includes Pete Alonso, Kyle Schwarber, Fernando Valdez. Scott Boras just throws the Giants into every conversation. I'm convinced.
Everybody does.
But is it quiet to the point that you know nothing about these, or what? Do you know anything? Have you heard anything down there about who the Giants are connected to?
It is quiet. I think, look, Framber makes sense as like a basically Logan Webb type. A ton of sense if you take the money out of it. I think that report, from what I've heard, is not true. I don't think it was that serious. Meeting. And he may still end up a Giant, but that part of it is not true. And then the Schwarber stuff is just flat out like not realistic. It's not. Yeah. So I will throw cold water on those two specifically. The Schwarber thing, I don't know how or where, or none of it makes sense. Even if you look at it and go, yeah, maybe you trade Eldridge for a superstar starter and then go replace him with Schwarber. So then you just have your DH taken up for 5 years. It's like, it didn't make sense in the first place. And I think the Giants are also like, where did this come from?
Yeah. Which seems to be how things work when the news goes slow. The stories will get filled by someone. I just wish it was getting filled by real stories from the Giants. Yes.
I think, this is year 6 or 7, whatever, of just, it's important to remember that the Giants are a really easy team to throw into rumors from the agency side. And let's just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Before we move on to hear our 2 interviews with Zack Minasian and the Giants' newest Hall of Famer, Jeff Kent, can we give a shout out to a member of the Giants family who won an award down there in Orlando?
Yes, Matt Chisholm, who is their VP of Media Relations. I've known Matt my entire career. He started as an intern in 2004. He's a NorCal kid. He's Sonoma State. He's gone from intern to a VP, and he won the Fishel Award, which is essentially given to the best PR guy in baseball every year. The second Giant to win it, Stacy Slaughter, who used to be in charge. She's now
she's like running the mayor's office, I think.
She told me she is the mom of the city. She's like the mayor's right hand. I think he's chief of staff or something like that.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. So it's a really cool award. I think it was really meaningful. It's very, very deserving. And I so much of what you as Giants fans read and listen to and see on TV. The post-game interviews, you don't see this, but Matt is standing right there with whoever with the walk-off. He's the one who gets them on camera for us right after a game. His team as well. He has a great team of people. Megan and Mike and Mariana and Maverick and Erwin. Like they all do a great job. And we're so appreciative of everything they do. And like, Zack Minasian, Jeff Kent, all this stuff, the interviews coming up, basically all the interviews that you're going to listen to over the next month on Giants Talk. And there's a lot of them. And taped some good ones yesterday. He's just instrumental in organizing all of that. So we owe a lot to Matt, and just a great dude, and happy to see him be honored. And I think what kind of tells you about who he is Buster Posey went to the ceremony to give the speech, to give him the award. So it's not only very trusted within the organization, but I mean, Bruce Bochy went to the ceremony
That's awesome.
to honor him as well. So everybody, Tony was there. So basically the entire front office showed up to honor him. So it was a cool award. Congratulations to Matt. And yeah, the people behind the scenes that, a lot of times don't get the credit. You see him at the press conferences sometimes, but they work their asses off to get us stats and get us interviews and get everything. Like almost all Giants coverage, you see that staff has their hands involved.
Yeah, whenever there's a big press conference and it basically starts with Matt, and like the viewers and fans actually get to see him without even realizing who he is, I always smile. And it's like, oh, he gets some screen time finally.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. And he's just, 21 years in baseball, 18 years with the Giants. We were little babies when we started, and now we're all dads, and he's winning trophies. So it's very cool.
Very, very cool. All right. We have Zack Minasian. We have Jeff Kent. But before we get to those, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini's Sleep World. Rest easy with huge savings during the year-end clearance sale at Mancini's Sleep World with Beauty Rest Queen mattresses from $299. Don't sleep on this. Shop sleepworld.com. All right, Alex, who do we want to start with?
I think we'll start with Zack because it's his winter meetings time, and even in like 10, well, nothing's happened, but in 10 minutes sometimes of interview, you could be like, oh, something did just happen. No, and then Jeff Kent again, like he broke down like 5 or 6 times during his press conference. Like, I think this hit him hard, and Richie said on this show the other night, he's like, I saw him emotional once in all the years I was with him. It was like pumping his fist. So he had tears in his eyes when I was talking to him, and this was good 24 hours after he made the Hall of Fame. So, cool. And then Zack, we talked early in the week. So a little more general because you never know what's going to happen. But a lot more coming. I think, we're waiting on Ford C. Frick news potentially.
That's right.
Your dad being up for it. And then Buster and Tony coming on here as well over the next week. And we'll see where the rest of this week goes. We're on emergency pod watch. We're just
basically living on it.
Yeah, we're just kind of like, okay.
Yeah. Someone do something. Let's go.
It's that meme where they're like poking the stick.
Yeah. We're just doing the meme poke.
It's the entire industry right now. Just everyone poking. Yeah.
I do feel like these kind of things happen. Off seasons work like this, where one big domino falls and then everything gets real busy real fast. So it's possible that we're going to miss this quiet period in 12 hours, 24 hours, who knows, if a couple days, but it is awful quiet right now.
We're going to be sitting there like December 23rd. Oh, where are you right now?
You're not doing anything important, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's fill this eerie winter meeting silence with a pair of interviews with Giants GM Zack Minasian and the newest Hall of Famer, Jeff Kent.
Giants general manager Zack Minasian, I think by the time this actually airs, we're going to have a full coaching staff. So I'm going to start there. How did this group come together? There's some really, really old school types like Wash, and then the traditional younger guys we've seen from the minor leagues a little bit too. How did this all come together?
Yeah, we're excited about how it's rounding out diverse staff, which I give Tony a lot of credit. He's talked about trying to fill blind spots as much as possible. And I think that's where we're getting a lot of different backgrounds, different experiences, different level of experience. So, but really excited, just a collaborative process with Tony, Buster, Jeremy Shelley, Paul Bien, so many people, and excited about where it's heading.
I know you guys are still finalizing some aspects of it. It feels like it's going to be more in line with the more modern coaching staffs, a little bit bigger. Maybe some people, not the traditional like pitching coach assistant. Was that maybe the plan here?
I think it was much more organic than that, where we didn't go into it thinking we want to have this number or we're going to be set up this way. As we talked to certain candidates, it started to become more and more clear that certain people were going to fit certain roles for us. So kind of grew this way somewhat unexpectedly, but a nice surprise as we head to the number of coaches we're going to have.
Just kind of a general question, not about any one player in particular, but about rumors this time of year.
Yeah.
How often do you see something and you go, I did talk to that agent. I did meet with that guy. I didn't ask him about that particular player.
Yeah, it happens a lot. I think going into this, you know that there's going to be a lot of speculation. It's an exciting time for fans, for baseball, for us as a front office. Unfortunately, a lot of these things we can't comment on. And from that standpoint, it's unfortunate because you want to be able to talk to your fan base, especially about what you're trying to do. But you have to refrain from it per Major League Baseball rules. But we try and work around some of these rumors and try and keep agents and teams focused on, hey, this is what we're willing to do, what we can do, as opposed to have them chase those rumors and maybe assume we can do things that we're just not going to do.
I know a question you get a lot too is like, is there anybody who's untouchable?
Yeah.
And I think you got asked that the last time I heard you do a radio interview. I know there's how this works. Like there's always a conversation to be had about anybody, really.
Yeah.
In all your time, you were with Milwaukee for a long time. You've been doing this a long time. Have you ever had a prospect who's untouchable?
No, I can recall actually when we were trying to acquire CC Sabathia telling the Indians at the time that we wouldn't trade Matt Gammer or Alcides Escobar in that trade. Now, it's not to say that those players wouldn't have been available in some other trade, but CC at the time was a pending free agent, so I don't know if I've ever really been in a situation where you're saying absolutely this player is not going to be traded under any circumstances. Most of the player has a no-trade clause, so you try and keep an open mind. But obviously a lot of this is with respect to these players. So I see some of the names that are getting out that supposedly we're open to, and some of these players we just think the absolute world of. So it's tough to imagine some of them getting traded, but it's on us. It's our responsibility as a front office to make sure that we're buttoned up. We've exhausted all of our options. So you always listen, but I think there are some things you're motivated to do, and there's others that you're not motivated to do.
As we sit here Monday afternoon, you guys, I mean, you've added some depth to your roster, but just in terms of the big pieces, how many starters right now do you feel like you need? I mean, we know the 3 you have locked in going to next year. Do you feel you need 2?
Yeah, I think ideally it'd be nice to get 2. But I was joking with the group in our room earlier today. We can't get 2 until we get 1.
Yeah.
So we'll start with 1 and go from there. But it would be great to get 2. And like I said, a lot of this is with respect to the talent that we have, because we've seen it in flashes from some of those young pitchers. And even if we get to, it would be a huge challenge that I would want to present to the Trevor McDonald, Birdsongs, Tidwells, Wisenhunt, Seymour, so on and so forth, Keaton Wynn, that there is still opportunity for them to impact the big league club, and maybe in the rotation. I think we used 15 starters last year, so to think we're going to use 5 this year, it just isn't going to happen.
Yeah. It seems like a good winter to be trying to trade for a starter potentially. What would have been the level of trade discussions the last couple of weeks on that front?
Yeah, I feel like there's probably been more trade discussion than usual. Trades are difficult to make. Even if you're willing to maybe move players, it's still tough matching up. So still getting a sense of that from teams. I think with trades, there's a lot of feeling out that goes on. Think of it like a boxing match where you're in the first round and there's some jabs exchanged. We're still kind of there. Maybe some things that have a chance to progress and others we continue to feel out.
The player your fans ask me about all the time. I know you saw Tetsuya Imai earlier this year. There's been a lot made of what's going on just generally with him. Are you hopeful that you at least get a chance to host him, or will you try?
Just with respect to the rules, I won't talk on any individual players, but I would say in regards to the KBO, the NPB, these are players that we've worked very hard, very, very hard to cover all of our bases, have an opinion. scout them in person, look at how they've performed from a data perspective, how they could fit into our system. So, as far as beyond that, there isn't a whole lot to add except to say that, when a decision time is there on whatever player it may be, foreign or domestic, we'll be able to make a decision.
2 players you do have that are yours that I know you can talk about. You go out and get an outfielder in Joey Wiemer. It seems like on paper with his splits and Drew, it feels like a good fit in right field. Is that the current plan, or is that just maybe where you stand right now as you head into free agency?
I think still very open. I don't want to discount Luis Matos. I don't want to discount Gerard Encarnacion. I think those are players that fit very well also. Right-handed hitters. Gerard actually really surprised me defensively. I thought he played very well in the outfield. And beyond that, there's other players that potentially could go out to the outfield and impact us. But Joey, minor league history up until the last couple of years has hit lefties, plays with a lot of energy. Good defender in center field. Justin Dean's an elite defender in center field. So given where our outfield defense was last year, it just felt like it was worth the chance to get these 2 on the roster at this time.
Another position everyone talks about, second base. What happened with Casey Schmidt? I know that was something that bothered him during the year. Was he started ramping up and it just didn't get there? Or in terms of having surgery?
Yeah, I think the most basic way to put it is form a carpal tunnel that was operated on and looking like an 8 to 10 week recovery. So we don't think he'll be slow during spring training at all. He should be fine. I thought Casey made a lot of positive strides last year at bat quality, learning a new position, still some upside there, and excited to see what he can do going forward.
Does it change the way at all you view second base this offseason, or does the time frame there make you pretty comfortable?
No, still pretty comfortable with Casey, and I'd call out Christian Koss as well, and someone who had a very good year. Thought he got more and more comfortable with the bat as the season went on. As we look at the team, you're always going to keep an eye on what's available and where you can upgrade. Obviously, we'll continue to look at all the positions, but when you've got Devers at first and Chapman at third, Adames at short, that's a little different than someone like Casey and Christian are still trying to establish themselves. So you go through the process, see who's out there, but happy that we have those 2 on the roster.
You led me perfectly into my last question, which is about another first baseman, Bryce Eldridge. You mentioned Devers at first. He did a pretty nice job defensively. I know Buster's very high on his ability defensively. Would that ever lead to Bryce revisiting the outfield conversation, or is that?
It's a good question. I don't think we're there yet at this time. I guess you never say never. And I think Bryce is the type that's going to work at whatever we throw in front of him. I think as of now, as we stand here today, the plan is still for Bryce to be the very best defensive first baseman he can be.
Traditionally, people have not wanted young players to DH, but Bryce was DHing in high school. Does that change the math at all with what next year might look like, knowing he's comfortable doing that, if that's part of the mix?
Yeah, I think as I look around the league, a lot of teams will use the DH to rotate players in and out, get certain players off their feet, help them from a health perspective. And I think that those things make a lot of sense unless you have someone that you put there that you think is a legitimate middle-of-the-order bat. When you look at players like David Ortiz and Travis Hafner when he was at his peak, those are players that those teams didn't have any issue just plugging them in the DH spot. It's not to say that Bryce has to be that level of player. We're talking about 2 of the best hitters of their time. David Ortiz is a Hall of Famer. So it's fine if he's a full-time DH or if him and Rafi are splitting time there and just have to hit.
We'll figure it out. All right, Zach, I know this is the busiest week of the year, so thank you for taking some time to sit down.
Happy to join, Pav. Thanks for having me.
All right, a very special guest, the Hall of Famer, Jeff Kent. We can start saying that now as we introduce you. First, yesterday, I'm watching your interview right after this was announced, and you're like, I'm wearing jeans. I was like out hanging out. What was yesterday like for you? Were you prepared for this at all?
No, not prepared. I wasn't anticipating it. I'd heard about it. The game had left me quite a ways back, which was fine. I'm satisfied. I was okay. I was content. And then, this thing comes around again. And, it's kind of hard being part of arguments because you don't like people arguing over you. But I knew that was a chance. And, So, when the call had come in, I wasn't looking for it, wasn't anticipating for it, wasn't waiting for it. It was an overwhelming shock.
I talked to Rich Riley last night, and he said, I think I saw him emotional once in all the years we played together.
Yeah.
It was like a base hit in the World Series, and he pumped his fist, and that's about it. It's been a very emotional 24 hours for you. We saw the press conference. You're fighting back tears. Does that surprise you, just how this has hit you over the last day?
Well, I was kind of pricky back in the days, and I had this shell around me. I didn't want people to get in my house, and my house was my brain. When you start having grandkids and you start having kids that play, that shell gets deteriorates, is what it does. It starts to lower, and for me, it's all the emotions of the game, all the memories of the game, the thoughts of teammates, the thoughts of coaches, the people who contributed to me standing here today wearing this jersey. All that comes in really fast, and when you start to think about that, it mattered to me. It still matters to me. A little tears in my eyes right now. It matters. And so for me, it was, I guess I don't care anymore because I'm dang near 60. I got gray hair now and I got 4 grandkids. So I really don't care. So the tears are coming because it matters so much.
I think it's hard for us who watch you playing to think of you as a grandfather now, but it's a little bit much for us too.
Yeah.
When you were on the ballot for 10 years, you maxed out at about 46%. Yeah. Were you following closely every year? Were you thinking about the progress you were making, or how did you follow that?
Not closely, but I was watching it because there's, you care about your legacy in a sense. And I was also watching it because I got a son at home who's plays for the Yankees now, who was a young kid always ripping on me and say, Dad, you're not in the Hall of Fame. And I go, because I was telling him how good I was. Yeah. He's telling you're not in the Hall of Fame. So you watch it, and because I love the game, and my name was associated with something, and it was on the ballot, and people got to debate it and argue it, and at times probably contentious because of the amount of players that were on there, and that was fine. But proud that I got to stick on there for 10 years, but I knew maybe about 5 years in that the distance to cover was probably going to be too great. So I guess when you get older, you just learn it's easier. Let me just put it this way. It's easier just to let things go. And that's kind of how it was for me. I let it go. It meant something, but it wasn't going to change my life. So that was the turning point for me to kind of fade away from the game because I wanted to give the game to my kid now. It's his game now. I wanted to teach him things, and I wanted him to do good things in the game. I wanted him to be better than me. And, So thinking about me so much wasn't there anymore.
When you think about your own career, what are you most proud of just from your playing days? I mean, all-time leader, home runs for a second baseman, you were MVP. What stands out to you? I'm pretty sure the stat may be about correct. Is near half of my career on every team that I played for, we went to the playoffs. One team, we went all the way to the World Series. Other team, I was one game away from going to the World Series, and had the MVP year. I got to see Bonds hit, stinking so many home runs I can't even count. I got to play with great teammates and great coaches. So, what one stands out? The World Series with my son stretching with us before the game. It was pretty meaningful. But then you ask further, and I'm a Game 7 loser, so it's hard. I had somebody asked me that same question: what matters most? Everybody thinks positive. Well, because I'm such an odd, twisted mind thinker, what matters most or what's most meaningful is a Game 7 loser. I've talked to a lot of your teammates about that World Series, Richie and Woody and all those guys. I mean, Dusty's around all the time.
Yep.
It sounds like something you still think about. I mean, what do you think about when you think back to 2002?
I'm still bitter. Can you tell a little bit? The tears go away and you just become bitter. But I was proud for the Giants too. And I watched them at home win the World Series 3 times. Jealous, flat out jealous that they did it. Posey was a big part of that. And I'm watching his career flourish now as a leader of the organization. So it's always bitterness when you're talking about being a Game 7 loser. But, the guys that I played with, those are the good memories. Coach Dusty was one of the best I ever played for. So, those are good, hateful, bitter memories.
We're going to the Hall of Fame now, so that helps us a little bit. You were asked pretty quickly after this came out about what hat you would wear, and you mentioned Dusty, you mentioned the Giants. Why was that such a quick decision for you? Because you played all over the league.
Well, it's almost easy. I had a great time in Houston, but I only played 2 years. I'll try to shorten this answer. The biggest twist or the biggest turnaround or the biggest catapult of my career happened in San Francisco with Dusty. New York bred me to be more of a professional baseball player. Dallas Green was a big manager that kind of taught me that. And learning how to deal with adversity in New York, that's a different place to play baseball. And then, the talents that I started to acquire from coaches kind of all came together with Dusty. And the team that Brian Sabian and Ned Colletti put together, along with Dusty, and the players that were around me, those are the best times I had too. And I went to school at Cal too, so it was almost like a homecoming.
That ballpark, you look around, there's statues everywhere for the Hall of Famers. They have retired a bunch of numbers for the Hall of Famers. Have you thought about that yet? The 21 might be retired. The precedent with the Giants, at least, is to have a statue.
No, you're the first guy to ask me that question. I know I got the stash on the wall, the Wall of Fame, and that was a neat moment. But no, you're asking me a question.
It's a question for ownership, I think.
I guess so.
I've always heard a story. I think Richie told me this. There's the Chevron cars in left field, and I've heard that you were maybe more annoyed by them than anybody else, and the potential that it would rob a home run.
I was. Chevron was great. They were a great sponsor of mine for a program that I created in Cal, which was Women Driven, which was providing female walk-on athletes scholarships at Cal. So Chevron was a great sponsor. And then one year they came out with their logo out in left field, and they had this car, and it had a bubble on the top of it. And I'm thinking, I don't hit long home runs. I need every inch I can have. And that car was in my way, and for the little home run that it would give me an inch or two. So yeah, I probably made a bigger deal of it. But that's the foundation of why I had a problem with that advertisement out there.
It has survived. I'll finish with this. You've talked a lot today about your son and his career and the way he's come through, and he's a professional now with the Yankees. Yeah. Tony Vitello, I was talking to him, and he said, I always loved watching him. I know you have seen a bit of Tony from the other side. What can you tell Giants fans about what you have seen from Tony as a leader?
I've watched Tony for 3 years, and I kind of wish my son would have played for him. And that's how much I think about him, if I could sum it up. Now, what he's got a lot of energy. He's got a lot of passion. I saw him today. He may not comb his hair, but the guy loves baseball, and I know he will make that transition from college kids to pros. He's a learner. He's a fast learner, and I think he's self-deprecating in that he'll make adjustments. He won't just be himself and just be, I'm Tony, I'm going to do it my way. I bet you he makes changes, because I think he may follow in the lines of Dusty, which is he'll know, and he ought to know, how to push buttons. And each guy's got different buttons to push. And he'll find the right kinds of buttons to push to get the best out of the players. So, with Buster being younger, with Tony and his energy being younger, I'm looking forward to seeing what this program can put together, because it's going to be neat to see.
All right, Jeff, maybe we'll see you around, but if not, we will see you in July in Cooperstown,
Yeah,
getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.